Welcome to the NLRA Project Foundry training for parents and coaches. I'm going to spend the next about 12 to 15 minutes talking you through how to log into the coach's site and how to navigate. First thing that you should need to know is on your computer browser, Project Foundry is a web-based program that works best through Chrome. So if you open up Google Chrome browser, um, it will work on Explorer and Mozilla, but every once in a while there might be a little glitch. It's better just to open it in Chrome. So once you're in Chrome, you want to go to the web address for the coaches site, which is nlra.projectfoundry.org/coach. This is very similar to how your students log in. The only difference is your students log in, instead of the word coach, they have the word student. So your screen, login screen looks like your students, except again, it's a slightly different color. So I'm going to log in as a sample coach, but your username and password that was sent in an email is your student's last name followed by the first three letters of their first name followed by the word coach. That's both the username and password for the initial login. Um, if you have questions over any of that, ask your student and they can tell you it's really just their computer login followed by the word coach for both the username and password. So I'm logging in as a sample coach, and what you're going to see is quite a bit. First thing I want to show you is on the screen. If you go over to the top right, you're going to see your basically your coaching name is here. You can change your password, and it's strongly recommended that the password we set initially was just to kind of get you started, but I would set something different. So go ahead and change your password. I would strongly recommend that. Now, whenever we get confused on this screen, I always say go to your home page. So your home page is essentially the word home. So a lot of times if I want to get back to this initial page, just click on home and it'll take you there. I want to navigate a little bit along things that are going to be beneficial to you. So this is a sample student. And the first thing you should look at is on the right-hand side of the screen, where there's something called the performance overview chart. And there's two bars. One, the darker green is for targets, and then the second one is for credits. So these are essentially the graduation requirements that have been set. There are specific targets, and those targets really depend at this point, given that we've just transitioned to this, depend on if your student is a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. So the targets in the system for the seniors there's about 50 of them, whereas a freshman, there's about 281 targets. And that's just because we're transitioning system, and rather than transition every target from prior systems for our returning students, we've kind of set those anew. So we'll talk about those a little bit more. But in terms of your student being on graduation pace, both these bars should be to the end to graduate. So this student looks like, for the most part, they're a sophomore because they're over 25% of their credit requirement. And again, their target requirement doesn't look like it's 25% because it's really just been set for this year. On the left, you're going to see what we call time logs. So essentially, every day at the end of the day, your student has to do two things. One, they have to log time. And initially, we had them log time for everything that was part of Project Foundry. Now, we're really just having them log time on their own projects that are more independent of a teacher-led seminar, workshop, or advisory period. We also don't have them log time for their ALEX course because that can always log into the ALEX site and it keeps track of time automatically. So all of this time from here on out, it really is just time that your student's working on more of a project they have initiated. It could be a small group project, or it could be an individual project. But you can see those time logs. In fact, if you go here, you can actually search through them on a day-by-day basis. So I'm going to go home. Now our students have been, really the first 6 weeks was kind of getting used to this, and so as time goes on, these are going to get more and more accurate. The other thing every student's asked to do at the end of the day is write a brief, what we call journal. And the journals are essentially they ask three questions. So if I search this student's journals, I can see, for example, on Monday the 27th, they were asked, what did you accomplish today in your Alex courses? And it looks like they got 3 topics done. What independent work tasks do you have to finish prior to school tomorrow? This student needed to finish their critical analysis and be ready to turn in to Ms. Havener in the morning. And then what were 3 concrete goals they needed to work on for tomorrow? So this student only wrote one. Um, Now again, if I wanted to, for this student, I could search past logs as well. This just kind of gave um, this log. So let's see here. Oh, for this week, I could actually just click on this and look at all the ones from the month. Or I could look at yesterday's time log. The computer's giving me a little bit. Okay, so and again, you could spend some time playing around that. My computer's being a little slow right now, but you could spend some time, and I could even set a data range for like, hey, last week, what did they accomplish? So there's all their logs from last week. So again, if you want to play around with that, but you can see on a daily basis, the students have to write a brief log kind of at the end of the day. So um, now, going back to the home page, other things that we should pay attention to. So the top right is a performance overview. This is their time logs and journals. It's kind of more of a daily basis. But the most important part of this screen is really down at the bottom. And what that tells you is 2 things. One, all of the projects that this student is involved in. And so everything in Project Foundry we call a project. So there's different symbols. So if I scroll over, it's my life, we notice that if I look on the right, this is a completed project. I could go back into this project and view the project summary, for example. And that's going to allow me to kind of look at what that project was. In fact, I could click on these and even look for example, what was uploaded, what was the evidence of those projects. So for example, the results might be there's a paper here. So this link would lead me to that paper, that student's paper. Um, so any project they do, they always have to have the evidence of what that project was as a result. As I look here, there was another project this person completed. This little question mark means this is a happiness project. And the reason why it's a question mark or exclamation point for that student is because it looks like it's the past due. So they had said that this project, which they had made themselves and sent to an advisor to approve themselves, was due on October 24th, and it's past due, and they haven't added a result for that yet, which means that essentially they're behind their goals on that project. The same thing here. Now, these little green boxes, you're going to look, if I look at podcasting, video casting, um, that project has been approved, meaning it's either been started by a, um, a teacher or another student, and it's been approved by a teacher, and they're working on it. Whereas this arrow right here would be a project that has been requested but not yet approved, meaning they've sent a project request form into an advisor to start talking about that project and what would look like, yet the advisor hasn't had a chance to sit down with them and actually approve it and say, yeah, this is good to go. So a good indication of what exactly is your student working on at any given time in the year is always going to be here. The question marks, those are done. Those have been done. They've handed in stuff. Whereas if you see exclamation points, that means, hey, that student is way behind their goals, or maybe just behind their goals, but it's a concern that's a high priority item. And then the other ones are things on a daily basis that your student's working on. To get even more detailed, we have every project has what we call tasks. And so tasks are essentially, those day-to-day items. What do you need to do as part of that project in order to accomplish your goals? And there's 2 ways to look at those. You could look at it here, but the better way, and the way we like the students to think about it, is in terms of up at the top, um, my calendar. Because if they click on my calendar, what they're going to get is a calendar that basically has all their tasks listed by the day, including some tasks that take more than one day. So, for example, it looks like this student on Tuesday this week had, or let's see, Tuesday this week, they need to work on a podcast for part one of a class. And so if they click on it, it's going to give them a little bit more information as well. So students can add tasks every day to projects, um, really at any given time. It's a way to, it kind of keeps track of all of them for them. Now, the other question that parents are going to want to know, especially, and we call parents, we refer, in Project Foundry, we refer to parents and guardians as coaches, because we really see them as coaching their student just like their teachers are in these projects. But we know that if you want a more traditional, like how is my student doing, then we want to go over to this performance tab. And this performance tab at the top is going to give us more information than we could possibly ever get from anything you've probably been exposed to before. So it can get a little overwhelming, but if we just stick with performance overview right now, what we're going to get is some charts. Again, the nice thing about this chart is if I scroll over it, for example, it says this student of 181 targets they need to master before graduation, required targets. Um, Before graduation, then they've got 15 of them so far this year. And they've earned 8.10 of 28 credits. So again, I know this student is a sophomore. Um, so again, there's both certain targets they have to hit. Some elective targets are just elective. But for our sophomores right now in their system, there's 181 targets that they need to show evidence of proficiency on in order to graduate, regardless of credit. So both these bars have to be at the end in order to graduate. How they're doing on the targets can be, kind of overview is seen by the chart below. Every target is graded 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so you can think of it as 5 is like an A, 4 is like a B, 3 is like a C. 2 and 1, we will mark 2s and 1s, but they don't count. So the student has to have 3, 4, 5 on required targets in order to get them to show up on this green bar up here. So it looks like this student's got more B's than A's, and you could probably say, hey, this is probably like a B plus, kind of an AB student somewhere in there in terms of their performance. Now we can get much more detailed, and that pretty much you can run at any time any report that you possibly could want to know. So if you wanted to run a transcript in terms of credits, you could do that, and you'll only have the option to do it for your student. But so say I wanted to know so far how they're doing semester 1 of the fall, I can generate a transcript, and it's going to make a little PDF report that I could then open up. Now, one thing that I know we've said before to parents is that Project Foundry is really a management system, but it's not what we report to the state. What we do is we use this, and it's the semester, and then again at the end of the year, we run an official transcript through Skyward, which is the district's management system that communicates with state records. So Project Foundry does not communicate with the state directly. We use it, and then we report to Skyward, which an official GPA and official GPA is calculated through Skyward, not through Project Foundry. But this gives you an estimate, and it'll pretty much be the same. But so you can see at any given time what the student's GPA is. But again, because this is cumulative and it's taking it at any picture in time versus Skyward, the official, which is only taking it when courses are at half a credit or full credit and they're transcribed. So again, you can run a report any given time to see how much credit's been earned, as well as what the official grade in something is for a given semester. So you can basically run a report card at any single time that you would like with this system. That's something that most parents have never had the option to do before. So kind of going back to the performance tab, you can also run a variety of reports. You can actually show how many learning targets your students have hit at a given time, what ones they need to hit, what they don't need to hit. Now, in order to keep this video short, I could go through all of this But I think at this point, it's better if parents kind of and guardians kind of play around with this and see what they would want to run, because there's so much more information here that's you could ever possibly want. You can, if you want to just search credits or search learning targets directly, the option to do that. So for example, for if you wanted to, for student one, your student, and you wanted to search what are all the English targets, and I'd click target detail that this student has completed already. Okay, so for this sample student, and I want to know, well, what have they completed already in English? So if I hit search, then it's going to basically tell you what that target was, on that 1 to 5 basis, so 5 being an A, 4 being a B, 3 being a C, what they did, as well as, in fact, it's going to give you a link to the project in Project Foundry that they actually got it in. So it looks like It's My Life was our wellness seminar. This student got quite a few English targets for a research paper they did during that. Um, we could also search, say, for FIAD, because I know in the wellness seminar, it was wellness based, and so a lot of the health learning targets at the right could link back there. So if I wanted to know more directly, I could literally click back on It's My Life, and that's going to link back to that project request, and then you could go and look at the results directly in terms of, well, what is it exactly they did? Did they do a video? Was it a paper? What was the evidence of what they did to reach those learning targets? As you can see, this is a very robust system, a lot of information, and it's a learning curve. It's been a learning curve for everybody here, but as we've used it, we're starting to like Project Foundry more and more and feel like over time, I think people are really going to see the power of how much information this gives us about student learning. So if you have questions, please direct those to Mr. Peterson. But what I would do is navigate in here, start trying to find information and asking questions. Use it for a discussion with your student. Um, so thank you for your time today.